Hello everyone, this is your boy Feltouch here and welcome back to another episode of the Blue Monday podcast. So today we have so much to talk about, it's been so exciting and unfortunately my voice is dying on me a little bit. Apologies if I sound a little bit like Sean Dyche towards the end of this video. I do need a lozenge and I don't have one. Unfortunately, we're going to have to just roll on anyway, but luckily for you guys there is so much to talk about Manchester City in this last week. Of course, first of all, was the Monaco game last Tuesday, and when I previewed this fixture, I said don't underestimate Monaco. They are a very decent team, and you know what? They turned up, and they scored 3 goals. But luckily for us, we banged in 5. Now, the defensive performances of both teams have been highlighted in the media, but nobody's talked about how difficult it is to score 5 goals in the Champions League, especially at this round of the competition. So let's go on ahead and talk about that. The first goal, excellent play from Sané. He cuts it on left-hand side, beats 3 players, lays into the far post, and there is Raheem Sterling. 1-0, lovely finish, fantastic flowing movement between those new young players. We should be so excited at City about how good these young lads are. They're performing at the highest level. Sterling got the highest rating in the Champions League last week. He was named as the player of the week or whatever in the UEFA competition, and I think people need to stop saying that Raheem Sterling's overrated. Watch his performances and see how much he contributes to City in every single game. His goal scoring record this year has significantly improved. His assists as well, his overall contributions have been fantastic. The guy has been really good since the Euros, I should say. He's really pushed on despite massive criticism from so many people in the media. They don't want to see this lad succeed. He's got ambition and he wants to fulfill it. He wants to win trophies and you can see that. And for me, he's going on leaps and bounds as a footballer this season under Pep Guardiola and has certainly improved. Yes, it was a tap-in, but his overall performance in this game was superb. Now then, we conceded some poor play from Caballero, but he was the saviour at the end of the day in this fixture. Superb refereeing decision as well involved in the game. I mean, what amazes me about this fixture, no matter how many times we've talked about it and how many times people have seen this decision, how the referee has decided to book Sergio Aguero in that situation. Aguero isn't a player which dives. Him and Sterling both stay on their feet. They don't go to ground too easily. They really do not have that sort of player. They're not that sort of player. That's the end of the situation. He's never a diving player. He never has dived. And that is one of the best things about Aguero. And the referee, I don't know if it's his decision or whether it's the one boy behind the goal, the 5th official, 4th official, whatever official he is. The guy behind the goal should be able to see that. I'm not being funny. He should be able to see whether there's contact or not. He's behind the goal, as does the linesman. He's on the right-hand side. He should have a very clear view of that. And I want to know how between these 3 officials, it's a triangle between them, how none of them have been able to see the situation and see that the goalkeeper has made a last-man challenge on Aguero inside the box, potentially a red card as well. Should be a penalty. If City score there, we go 2-0 up. Instead, they go down the other end and they score some poor clearance from Caballero, and there is Falcao at the far post. I decided to call him a fraud moments before this goal, and I deserved it because he really did show how decent he was. He wasn't a player who was in the Premier League, and unfortunately for City, they kicked on from there. Some very poor defensive play. I think Otamendi is at fault for so much in this game. When you watch him play football, the guy is really embarrassing at times. He dives in far too much. He doesn't keep his line. He really doesn't communicate with the rest of his defenders. Fernandinho playing at left back. I know we had to do it because there was no other options particularly. I probably would have played Zabaleta, to be honest with you, and rather have seen Fernandinho in midfield next to Torre because we were getting overrun towards the end of the first half. And eventually they scored Mbapke. I can't pronounce the lad's name too well, but all I do know is this lad is a superb talent. 11 goals so far this season at only 18 years of age. I mean, he's really looking very promising as a footballer, and he wouldn't surprise me if a club like City or another very big club in Europe comes in and tries to buy him from Monaco in the next couple of seasons. Now, in the second half, when Monaco 2-1 up, of course, they had the penalty. It was a penalty, in my opinion. It was just ridiculous how the referee and the officials decided to take so long to give the decision. That is just incredible. I think it really does show how poor UEFA referees are. For the most part, these guys, I know the referee on Saturday, last week. I think it was a Spanish referee, so it's at one of the highest levels in world football. But there's such a big difference between the referees' cultures in every single country that some referees will give a decision for some things, other ones won't. They just really need to just get their shit together at UEFA, because every single week, every single time City play in the Champions League, there is a massive amount of controversy every single time, and people are saying, let's do the Poznan before kick-off, let's not boo UEFA. No, sod it, boo UEFA every single week. They are a joke of an organisation, and they will continue to be until they get a reform and realise they're just a joke. They're just a joke, really, that's all I can say. I'm just getting irate when I start thinking about UEFA. Then Aguero turned up, he scores again, really poor goalkeeping from Subasic. He decided to do probably the worst cricket long barrier anybody's ever seen, and that was a 2-2. That was a nice little finish from Aguero, gets his confidence back up, and he looked like a different player in the second half. Then they scored again, what a chip from Falcao. That showed his real quality, the sort of quality we were used to when he was playing a few years back for Atletico Madrid before he decided to go on his escapades to all these different other teams. And he really did show his quality. What a chip. John Stones is a young man. He's going to have to learn to deal with playing at the highest level against the top strikers, and he eventually got found out in that situation. You can't bully a man like Falcao. He's very, very strong despite his small size, and he's going to always do fantastically well, and what a finish that was. And Willy Caballero deserves a shout out as well for saving the penalty. It was a very, very poor penalty and away from Falcao, because he took about 10 seconds to decide where he was going to kick it after referee blew his whistle. But Willy Caballero saved something like 6 in his last 8 penalties he's faced. That is just a ridiculous record. He was the saver in the League Cup final last year. He saved penalties against some of the best players in world football, including Neymar. Last season as well, he saved one against Oscar, not one of the best players in world football. But the guy seems to save penalties week in, week out, and he's seriously a legend at City, Willy Caballero. He's our Baldy. He's our favourite one. Forget Baldiola. It's Baldiero. I don't think that really works, does it? But Caballero, the gentleman, he did well in goal for us. Then we turned it on in the second half towards the end. Sergio Aguero, what a finish from a corner. We never score from corners, and we scored 2. Fantastic finish into the far post. Again, followed up by John Stones with a nice little tucked away finish at the far post. We're scoring goals from corners. How is this happening? I think it's about time that De Bruyne starts taking more corners. Less from Silva, less from Sterling, less from Navas, whoever it is, because they can't beat the first man. I don't know why, they're just not strong enough at kicking. As good as those players are from dead ball situations, the ball has to go to De Bruyne. He's got one of the best deliveries I've ever seen. I was sat watching this game with fans who weren't City supporters, and they were saying, wow, De Bruyne, just look at that ball in. And you know what? We get used to it at City, but when you watch him play, De Bruyne, sometimes he does the simple things. He puts in such a sexy balls into the box. I get excited just watching it. And then Leroy Sané capped it off with a fantastic bit of play. Fantastic ball from David Silva to play in Aguero. Every time I watch Silva, I think, wow, we are so lucky. It's not just the way he plays the ball around and passes it, it's his work rate in general. When you watch someone like Ozil play football, yes, he gets all the plaudits for getting assists and goals and but David Silva, for me, has probably been one of the most consistent midfielders in the Premier League for the last 5-6 seasons, and probably should have a statue unveiled outside City Stadium in the next 15 to 20 minutes, because I absolutely love the guy. Then, of course, we had a fantastic result, and it was just a superb, fantastic moment for all City fans to be able to say, look, we could be progressing through to the next round of the Champions League. There has to be some improvements if we are to win the next fixture. I personally would like to see Fernando or Fernandinho playing in the midfield. It all depends on injury situation and things like that. But we have to be a bit more resolute. We've scored 5, but they've got 3 away goals, which is a big worry. People are talking about how wonderful it was that Leicester City managed to score an away goal. We scored 5 in the Champions League. Forget Leicester City scoring 1 away goal at Sevilla. They're not really going to progress, let's be honest. Sevilla are a quality team. Whereas we scored 5 against a pretty decent Monaco team. So I'm buzzing with that. We'll have to see how we do in the second leg in 2 weeks' time from this podcast. I think it would be an enticing fixture. Pep's already said it's probably going to be playing out like the exact same as this situation in the first leg. Well, I pray to God it won't be, and I'd like to see us playing a 10 at the back formation personally. Do a Chelsea, stick every man behind the ball, but I just don't think we've got that within our capability as a side, and we'll probably end up going all out for leather again for no reason whatsoever. But anyway, that will happen in the future. We'll talk about that in a future episode. And then the day after the Monaco game, I decided, along with a few people I know, to go down to Aston Villa. I live very close to Villa's ground at the moment, so I went down to Villa's ground and watched the FA Youth Cup quarter-final. So it's something we've not really talked about too much in this podcast, is youth, and I know people are interested in the Youth Academy at Manchester City, and there is really some fantastic players in this under-18 squad. So the team the other day featured some fantastic players. It had Sancho playing, and it also had Brahim Diaz, who's had experience. Latabodia was playing at the back. It was Muric in goal. There was a few players in there which looked pretty interesting as a side. But the goals in this game came from Jadon Sancho. We initially conceded the first goal. It was a nice work finish from Aston Villa. It was a big goal against the grain of play, to be honest with you. City have won every single game in the Northern Division this season and been crowned champions. They've been exceptional at their level, and they've got some fantastic, intricate passing players. Sancho, he was just bullying players. The guy was going past players like they weren't even there. He was really exciting to watch, and is a big prospect for the future. I mean, sometimes his decision making could be better at times, whether to play the pass or whether to take on an extra player. He sometimes did that a little bit too much, too many extra touches at times. I think he's going to improve in that aspect. He can only get better with age. I'd just like to see some of these players get chances. I think Brahim Diaz didn't have the best of games in this one, but City in the end managed to come out with a 2-1 victory. Phil Foden is another player who is exceptional in this game. Now, in English football, for the last 5-10 years, we've been trying to produce technically gifted players who are good enough on the ball, very much like the Spanish and the German model of players which have started to come out for the last 10 years and seem to bring them success. Now, when I watch someone like Phil Foden play, he plays in a midfield role very similar in a way to David Silva. He's not very tall, he's not very big, he's not wide, he's probably going to get bullied off the ball a lot of times, but you'd be surprised how well this lad looks after the ball. He's so good, he plays everything so simply. He's from Stockport. I'm watching this thinking, this lad's from Stockport playing football like this. I'm sure this lad's been brought up at La Masia over in Barcelona's academy. Sometimes when you watched him play, he was superb. And he was taken off early in the fixture. I don't think it was probably deserved, and instead they decided to stick up front the Lucas Nemecha, who probably should have started in reality, instead of Brahim Diaz up front. I think Diaz is better behind the striker, and in the end City had enough quality to get through in the game. I think it was Matt Smith, was something like that, was the man who got the goal in defensive midfield, who again was superb. He had a really good game throughout the fixture, really did impress me as a defensive midfielder. It showed that City do have some good quality English young lads coming through, as well as these foreign lads which they bought from many other academies across the globe. But I was very impressed with a lot of the players in the youth fixture, and they'll play, I'm not sure which team got through, but they're going to play either Preston or Stoke in the semi-final, and then they could either face either Chelsea or Tottenham Hotspur. Now that could potentially set up a repeat of the last 2 years' finals of City against Chelsea. We'll have to see how that plays out, but there is a big talent pool of Manchester City players in the academy currently at the moment. Now, of course, the players have now had a rest. They've been off to Abu Dhabi. They've been having a great time by the things. They've gone and seen Salt Bay's restaurant and all these sort of things. They've been having a good time, enjoying themselves in the sun, and fair play. You know, it's a long season. Enjoy the rest. And for once, in their foresight, City have decided not to play a friendly fixture over in Abu Dhabi this time. Because remember what happened 2 years ago. The players went to Abu Dhabi. They had a friendly fixture against Hamburg in the midweek. They played at the weekend. They looked tired. They looked ragged, and they lost the fixture, which doesn't surprise me because that's just how City do things. That's just Manchester City in a nutshell, to be honest with you. But luckily, they didn't decide to play a friendly fixture. All the lads are out there sunning themselves, getting themselves a nice tan and having a little little rest, most importantly, because it's a long season and they've pretty much earned this rest. We've got a big cup fixture coming up this Wednesday in the FA Cup against Huddersfield Town. It's the replay fixture, and it looks again that Huddersfield Town will probably rest some players, and I imagine that City will probably do the same sort of thing, even though we've only got Sunderland at the weekend. But I think we'll maybe make a few more changes, change things around, but just because we're at home, you'd think we would have the advantage. Huddersfield in the last week have had some big fixtures. They went and won at home to Reading, which is a massive fixture, and drew away from home at the weekend against Barnsley 1-1. They really should have won that game. If you've seen the highlights, they had a really good performance, and how they didn't get the second goal, I genuinely didn't know. Aaron Moy, I think in the fixture, hit the post with a superb effort. He's looking like a fantastic player at championship level. Again, he can't play in the next fixture, but still, I think the City should be able to beat Huddersfield. They'll make some changes again. Huddersfield won't make it easy on City, but hopefully the home advantage should be able to carry us through in this fixture. I'm going to predict a home win in that one, hopefully. And then, of course, at the weekend after that, we are playing against Sunderland away from home on the Sunday. 4 o'clock kickoff or 4:30. Who decides to make a 4 o'clock, 4:30 kickoff, whatever it is, on a Sunday? I mean, it's just a joke. You can't get back. It's just these TV cameras and channels, they don't understand logistics of fans. They don't care about the fan experience and how people are going to get to the game. So basically, I'm going up to the game. I'm going on the Saturday and coming back on Monday because there's just no way of getting back after the fixture by train anyway. I can't go on a bus because I'd have to get back to Birmingham basically because I'm at university at the moment. So I'm ending up having to come back on Monday and having to miss a few lectures because you know what? Sometimes you just have to get away with things and just don't care. City always takes the priority in life, and if you don't follow that line of thought, then I feel sorry for you fellas. But honestly, City against Sunderland could be an enticing fixture. I do think the City will probably end up conceding just because it's the way City are playing at the moment. When Jermaine Defoe gets through on goal, you know he's always going to create chances. Sunderland at the weekend didn't look great against Everton, but Everton are a very, very good side at the moment. They're very difficult to beat. They've got some very good players. Lukaku was bullying a few of their players, but still, it'll be an interesting fixture. Sunderland are an ageing team, but they need points, and at this stage of the season, they'll pretty much do anything in order to get any points they can. At the moment, they're probably the number one relegation candidates, to be honest with you. They have an ageing squad of players and also some very young players, but don't really seem to have a formula for winning any games except for give the ball to Jermaine Defoe and hope for the best. And hopefully City will have enough quality to be able to just walk past them. They're still playing John O'Shea at the back, and I think that says a lot about Sunderland's quality as a side. So hopefully City will win that game. I'm going to be going to that one, so we're going to be getting a few vlogs and stuff up on my channel. Hopefully you guys will enjoy that. Make sure you tune in next week for that. Of course, again, it might be a possibility that this podcast may be on a Tuesday next week, just depending on how tired I am and how, I could be hungover, to be honest with you. Depends how many beverages I've had at the game the day before. But we'll have to see how that goes on. So next week's could either be a Monday or a Tuesday. I will let you know perhaps on Twitter what the plan is with that one. But stay tuned. Thank you very much for all the thoughts and questions and all the comments recently on all the videos on this podcast. I've been absolutely loving it. Thank you so much for everyone who's been listening. I would like to perhaps next week get some fan questions in. I'll perhaps talk about them in the podcast. So if you guys got any fan questions, send them in. We may perhaps change the few things in the format of this podcast, hopefully perhaps get you guys involved a little bit more. So send in your questions. It could be City related, probably. That's probably the best thing for this Blue Monday podcast. It could be anything. Send them in though in the comment section down below, either on YouTube or if you're listening to this on SoundCloud, you can also put it in there as well. So that's it for today. Hopefully City will get some big wins this week, and we'll look ahead to next week's fixtures on next week's Blue Monday podcast. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. Arrivederci.